I need to open with a very critical breaking news announcement. The FBI has just sent a letter to Congress informing them that they have discovered new emails pertaining to the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's investigation and they are reopening the case into her criminal and illegal conduct that threatens the security of the United States of America. Hillary Clinton's corruption is on a scale we have never seen before. We must not let her take her criminal scheme into the Oval Office. I have great respect for the fact that the FBI and the Department of Justice are now willing to have the courage to right the horrible mistake that they made. This was a grave miscarriage of justice that the American people fully understood. And it is everybody's hope that it is about to be corrected. So that is a big announcement that I heard 10 minutes ago. And I guess, obviously, most of you folks have heard about. And in all fairness, for all of the people that have suffered for doing so much less, including just recently, 4-star General James Cartwright, General Petraeus, and many others, perhaps finally justice will be done. With that being said, typical politician, all talk, no action, sounds good, doesn't work, never going to happen. Our country is suffering because people like Secretary Clinton have made such bad decisions in terms of our jobs and in terms of what's going on. Now, look, we have the worst revival of an economy since the Great Depression. And believe me, we're in a bubble right now. And the only thing that looks good is the stock market. But if you raise interest rates even a little bit, that's going to come crashing down. We are in a big, fat, ugly bubble. And we better be awfully careful. And we have a Fed that's doing political things. This Janet Yellen of the Fed is doing political by keeping the interest rates at this level. And believe me, the day Obama goes off and he leaves and he goes out to the golf course for the rest of his life to play golf, when they raise interest rates, you're going to see some very bad things happen because the Fed is not doing their job. The Fed is being more political than Secretary Clinton.
Mr. Trump, we're talking about the burden that Americans have to pay, yet you have not released your tax returns. And the reason nominees have released their returns for decades is so that voters will know if their potential president owes money to, who he owes it to, and any business conflicts. Don't Americans have a right to know if there are any conflicts of interest?
I don't mind releasing. I'm under a routine audit, and it'll be released. And as soon as the audit's finished, it'll be released. But you will learn more about Donald Trump by going down to the federal elections, where I filed a 104-page, essentially financial statement of sorts, the forms that they have. It shows income. In fact, the income, I just looked today, the income is filed at $694 million for this past year. $694 million. If you would have told me I was going to make that 15 or 20 years ago, I would have been very surprised. But that's the kind of thinking that our country needs. When we have a country that's doing so badly, that's being ripped off by every single country in the world, it's the kind of thinking that our country needs, because everybody, Lester, we have a trade deficit with all of the countries that we do business with of almost $800 billion a year. You know what that is? That means who's negotiating these trade deals? We have people that are political hacks negotiating our trade deals.
The IRS says an audit of your taxes, you're perfectly free to release your taxes during an audit. And so the question, does the public's right to know outweigh your personal?
Well, I told you, I will release them as soon as the audit. Look, I've been under audit almost for 15 years. I know a lot of wealthy people that have never been audited. I said, do you get audited? I get audited almost every year. And in a way, I should be complaining. I'm not even complaining. I don't mind it. It's almost become a way of life. I get audited by the IRS, but other people don't. I will say this. We have a situation in this country that has to be taken care of. I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes. When she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted, as soon as she releases them, I will release my tax returns. And that's against my lawyers. They say, don't do it. I will tell you this. No, in fact, watching shows, reading the papers, almost every lawyer says you don't release your returns until the audit's complete. When the audit's complete, I'll do it. But I would go against them if she releases her email.
So it's negotiable?
It's not negotiable. No, let her release the email. Why did she delete 33,000?
Well, I'll let her.
Welcome to you all. Pursuant to committee rules, all witnesses will be sworn in before they testify. So if you will please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. All right, thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect that the witnesses answered in the affirmative. In order to allow time for discussion and, quite frankly, for a Q&A that you'll get quite a bit of, your entire written statement will be made part of the record. But we would ask that you would limit your oral testimony or opening remarks to 5 minutes. There's a clock in front of you to remind you of that. It'll turn yellow when you have 30 seconds left. If you'll please make sure that you press the button when you're speaking. And so what we will do is we can have your opening testimony a combined 10 minutes, so however you want to do that. And so, Mr. Doyle, we'll come to you first, and then you can yield to Mr. Moynihan.
Yield to me right now. I would like to yield to Mr. Moynihan to open, please.
Okay, so Mr. Moynihan, you are recognized for up to 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank you, Chairman Meadows, and other members of the committee for having us here today. My name is John Moynihan, and I'm one of 3 partners that engaged in this investigative effort involving a 501c3, and in particular, the Clinton Foundation, the subject of today's hearing. Please note that we do many investigations into 501c3s, and this is just one of many. When I'm finished, I'd like to introduce my 2 colleagues that are here today, Mr. Doyle, and if it's possible, Mr. Thomas Ragland from the Clark Hill Law Firm. Tom has been very active with us in our efforts. As we move through this, at the conclusion of Mr. Doyle's introduction, I would like to answer 2 questions for the committee. Who are we, and why did we do this? I think they'll give some good color and background as to what we're doing, how we do this for a living, what our motivations are, and why we're here. I'd like to give at this point some special thanks to 3 other individuals who worked on this matter. Mr. Robert Nieves, who's behind me, he was a senior SES executive in the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, where I worked for many years with Mr. Nieves on money laundering and financial crimes. Mr. John Shiro from the law firm of Bowditch and Dewey. He's a master tax analyst, fiduciary, and trust advisor in the field of taxation and investments. And Mr. Thomas Scannell, an attorney at a law firm in Massachusetts, who was a litigator who challenged us the entire process, our evidence, and the way we went about this to ensure the integrity of what we're going to talk about today. At this time, I'd like to yield to Mr. Doyle.
Congressman Meadows and members of the committee, thank you very much for the invitation to present and discuss the topic relating to the oversight of nonprofit organizations with a specific case study on the Clinton Foundation. My name is Larry Doyle, and for purposes of background, John Moynihan and I are the two proudest graduates of the College of the Holy Cross. The Jesuit-inspired pursuit of the truth, competitiveness, and playing by the rules have been our calling cards and our commitment throughout John's career in and around law enforcement and mine on Wall Street. For the last 10 years, I have spent countless hours involved in literary and investigative pursuits related to regulatory failure. The comparisons I see between the subprime mortgage market, lack of ratings and regulatory performance, and the Madoff scandal to today's topics are stark. On that note, I welcome providing the following context and perspective for today's hearing. There are currently approximately 1.75 million not-for-profit organizations in our nation today. 90% of these not-for-profits fall within the 501c subset, while close to 2/3 are 501c3 public charities. Recent data highlights that these not-for-profits annually generate approximately $1.74 trillion with a T dollars, a 250% increase over the last 20 years, equating it to approximately 9% of our nation's GDP. On a standalone basis, this segment of our economy would be the 10th largest economy in the world. All of which begs the question, who's minding the store, looking out for the donors, and upholding the rule of law? Let us quick, do you want to introduce Tom?
Yeah, at this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like Mr. Ragland to introduce himself.
Thomas Ragland from the Clark Hill firm.
At this point, I'd like to answer two questions. Who are we? We are apolitical. We have no party affiliation to this whatsoever. No one has financed us. I don't know Chairman Meadows. I just met him today. I don't know any of you people, okay? I'm happy to meet you, but we have no relationship to any of you, okay? We are forensic investigators that approached this effort in a nonpartisan, professional, objective, and independent way. We have never been partisan. We come from law enforcement on Wall Street, where each of us has dedicated our entire lives and careers to the rule of law, doing the right thing, pursuing facts. We follow facts. That's all. None of this is our opinion. I emphasize, none of this is our opinion. These are not our facts. They are not your facts. They are the facts of the Clinton Foundation. Why did we do this? This is our profession. People will ask us, are you doing this for money? The answer is yes. This is how we make a living. We do cases. It's that simple. We are forensic investigators, former U.S. law enforcement and private practice, making our living conducting these cases. We did not choose this topic because of who the individuals are or were. In fact, we applaud the efforts of the philanthropic nature of the Clinton Foundation on some of the efforts that they have done. That's not in dispute. We're not here to dispute that. Rather, we have backgrounds in 501c3 charities, including work for, both inside and outside of them. We know the risks and the frequent shortfalls. 501c3